So today's the day. We're going to be discussing Watari, the most overpowered and unbalanced role in Death Note Killer Within. He's a role that has 5 different abilities that have no counterplay, and how many downsides do you think this role has? None. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I believe that Watari is an unhealthy addition to the game. And as popular as he is, he's a badly designed role. Many players speculated that during the Watari and MPA update, Team L became much more powerful than Team Kira. It has been nearly 8 months now since the update has been launched, and it has been left in an unbalanced state. Even with the addition of other roles and more updates, Watari has stayed on top as the most powerful role. So why is that? So before I explain the role, we have to understand how the game works first. The main game of Death Note Killer Within consists of 2 teams trying to catch each other. It consists of 10 players. Team Kira will have 1 Kira and 1 follower, while Team L will have 7 investigators and 1 L. L himself is in charge of catching Kira, and guiding meetings and arresting and confiscating the Death Note, while Kira is trying to find L and execute him by any means. You do this by stealing other players' IDs and judging them. Now, killing a player gives a lot of information, as players being controlled by the Death Note have a very obvious movement, and they are immediately affected when their name has been written down. Not only that, if you write in front of an NPC, it will give testimony of using a black notebook. Furthermore, the player that dies will have the person who stole their ID marked in their dying message. So basically there are 3 different pieces of evidence for every kill that you make: time, place, and their dying message. You can narrow it down by killing in a place where an NPC can't see, and telling your follower where the body is so they can pick up the dying message. However, killing by yourself is extremely risky, and killing on the spot is difficult, as it takes about 5 seconds for them to drop on the floor, meaning both players will have to be not present for quite some time. So it makes sense why Team Kira has 2 members. If Team Kira didn't have a follower, killing players becomes extremely risky, and in a lobby of 10, that's 8 other investigators you have to remove from the equation to catch L. So it makes sense why Kira is given the Kira follower. And to make it balanced, only 1 player on Team Kira can kill, and that person is the one who wields the Death Note. But even with how Kira works, L doesn't actually need a follower at any point of the match. Sure, it's nice, but the investigation primarily revolves around L's deductions. A problem with Watari is that you can take the back seat as L, and let Watari do all the work risk-free. And now, there's a lot to cover about Watari and how unfair he is. But first of all, I want to mention, with the addition of Mello, MPA Chief, and Watari, Kira hasn't had any changes to his base kit. Sure, he's had alternatives, whether you think they're good or bad, they are still replacing an already existing role. See, Watari, Mello, and MPA replace already existing investigators, not increasing the amount of players in the lobby, just making the basic investigators stronger. Team Kira, on the other hand, hasn't been given anything new to his base kit, and has always stayed with only 2 members of Team Kira. There were leaks I covered that teased the Shinigami eyes, a scrap piece of the Death Note, and a fake Death Note. Sadly, this was scrapped content and was never added to the game. Team Kira has been given nothing new to combat the other roles' abilities, and when I start talking about Watari, you'll understand the unhealthy state he introduces to the game. So, why don't we start talking about the role then? Watari was a new addition to Death Note Killer Within, in the same update that introduced the MPA Chief. 2 huge roles for Team L that replaced normal investigators. However, unlike the MPA Chief, Watari didn't have just 1 ability, not 2, but 5 different abilities. Watari's kit includes starting the game knowing who L is and L knowing who you are, see L on the map at all times and vice versa. You can't be converted by X Kira as you are always loyal to L. You have a transceiver that gives no evidence and has unlimited use between L and Watari. And if you're killed at any point of the game, an alarm will pause to play an announcement that you have died. And to top it all off, Watari has no downsides with no counterplay. And not only that, having Watari in your game will always 100% provide value just by existing. As L, you know who Watari is while Team Kira doesn't. And Watari is a confirmed innocent role, solely to yourself. So that makes Watari an insanely stronger confirmed investigator. And one of the main reasons for that is because Team Kira doesn't know who Watari is. That sole reason makes Watari too powerful. And to show that, we have to look at the command card Vindicating Evidence. Vindicating Evidence is the command card that L starts the game with. It will spawn a collaborator in a predetermined location on the map. The collaborator can only be interacted by normal investigators, no one else. It will reveal their role publicly to the entire lobby, and they are confirmed innocent for that round. The only way that they aren't confirmed innocent is if X Kira converts them later in the match. But to keep things simple, we'll not include X Kira near. So now L has a confirmed innocent who you can trust no matter what, and you have Watari on top of that. So that's 3 people that you know who can't have the Death Note. L, Watari, and the confirmed investigator. And that might not seem like a big deal, but that's 3 different people in a lobby of 10. And you know they are telling the truth. If any of these 3 roles vouch for another player, that clears them without the doubt of lying. If all 3 can vouch for at least 1 player, that clears 6 players. Here's an important thing about the confirmed investigator. Once they've interacted with the vindicating evidence, that information is public to everyone in the lobby. That means Kira knows who to avoid and isolate, and especially not to frame them. See, how L works is that he controls the meetings. L will be a huge influence on the meeting and who they will vote. If Kira is trying to frame a person and they just so happen to be Watari, L will instantly know that that person is lying. At least with the confirmed investigator, that will never be the case, as everyone knows they're innocent, and an innocent player's word can be trusted more than any unconfirmed players in the lobby. So as Kira, there's plenty of counterplay. Do you want to kill the confirmed player to keep L guessing on who is telling the truth, or avoid them altogether and make sure they aren't the first accuser? And I don't know about you, but I'd prefer being accused by a random player over the confirmed investigator in the lobby. And to put us in perspective, let's put us in a situation. Kira has killed a criminal at the end of the round. As L, I see another player who didn't have the opportunity to use a death note, so that clears them. The next meeting, my confirmed investigator clears another player. That's 4 players who couldn't use a death note, leaving 6 other players. Including Watari decreases it to 5. But if they cleared another player, now it's 4. But what if you saw 2 people, or 3? Well, now it's left to 2 players who could have used a death note. And you damn know they aren't lying because they are loyal to Team L. If an unconfirmed player has cleared those players, you wouldn't know if they're telling the truth. But with Watari, it's guaranteed information. Guaranteed information that Kira doesn't know about. So if you're trying to cut information off for L, it would be a good idea to kill the confirmed investigator. But with Watari? Good luck. If you attempt to kill Watari, he can use his transceiver to tell L who he's been in contact with. Or if he follows you into a room and you're about to kill him, he can also just tell L that who's killing him right now. Better yet, when he dies, everyone will be notified about it. You essentially have to sacrifice a member of Team Kira to kill Watari. And if you accidentally kill him, you need to switch the book as soon as possible, because you've just been unfairly caught. At least with the MPA chief, you can disable his power by using a command card, but with Watari, you can't disable any of his abilities, making it really unfair to go up against. And to make things worse, you can kill the confirmed investigator and get away with it. But with Watari, you don't know who he is, and killing him will always have at least 1 member on Team Kira revealed. This video is getting pretty long and I haven't even covered the transceiver yet. So let's talk about the transceiver then. Using communications, lets L and Watari cover 2 sides of the map at all times. If Watari sees a criminal fall over, he can tell L, and L will clear everyone that he can see at that very moment. L can also tell Watari to follow another player, to make sure they don't do anything. And if they do, you will know who killed them. You can also set up a joint task to have another player to keep being watched. So that keeps eyes on about 4 to 5 different people. That is a ridiculous amount of information. And it removes the entire point of social deduction when you don't have to deduce in a social environment. You already know who you can trust and you don't have to figure out anything. You can just take the back seat and let the case solve itself. And my most hatred associated with this role is that almost every lobby has him on permanently. Not even random. It's like a crutch class that people cling on because they aren't good enough as L to solve the investigation. And in my personal experience, my best gameplays have been without Watari, as I have to figure out who I can trust in the lobby and who I have to avoid. An example of this is my Nier gameplay. Now Nier doesn't even have access to vindicating evidence, so there's not a single person who's confirmed innocent at any time. My point is, the game was originally L versus Kira, and since these roles were released, it's become Kira versus L, and Watari, and MPA Chief, and Confirmed Investigator, and Mello. I've played the original game with no special settings for quite some time now, and I can say that the main game, when it was first released, was the most balanced state it's ever been in. Both Kira and L have very equal chances of winning. Every role aside from one has left an unhealthy balance on the game's meta. Maybe I'll make a video on passive Kira alone for that reason, but for now I'll be covering the rest of the roles in the game, so subscribe if you haven't already. Editing me here. I forgot to mention that Watari is a hard counter to X-Kira. His one conversion power doesn't work against Watari, and it actually covers for L. I just thought I'd mention that for people who still play with X-Kira. But wait, the video's not over. I haven't actually suggested how to fix Watari with a more healthy state. I don't want these videos just to be completely negative. Honestly, one of my oldest opinions was to increase the player count. Doing so would add more basic investigators and would have been a great addition to help the game's health immensely. But to fix the role Watari himself, I would rework it entirely. Instead of giving Watari multiple abilities, it would be more healthy and a missed opportunity to introduce different roles with his powers. Instead of Watari having a death notification, introduce the guy who died and pressed his belt in the anime. He would just be a normal investigator, but when he dies, a notification is sent to the entire lobby. Watari's only ability is that he should be able to communicate to L via transceiver, but to combat that, I would suggest some measures of counterplay. During a Kira command card, the transceiver is disabled, allowing Kira to make a move. Before Watari came out, people thought that his transceiver would give evidence to Team Kira, in the form of NPCs. Maybe we should reintroduce this, so that you know that Watari is in the game and maybe even discover who he is. Or maybe even make Watari confirmed at the start of the game, so that everyone knows who he is. That would allow Kira to play around him just like the confirmed investigator. But the way that Watari is now is extremely unfair and unbalanced, as he always gives value, and the only way to differentiate Watari and L is if Watari is walking around during a camera prompt. It's a really poorly designed role with no punishment or counterplay, and Kira shouldn't be punished for playing aggressively, as L is played in response to Kira's actions. Making Kira play passively has always been the most boring meta since launch, as the only counterplay to passive Kira is a passive L, which means both teams do nothing for 20 to 25 minutes. Anyway, that's for another video. This could be a pretty sensitive topic, as it was a bit bold of me tackling it on the internet, so I'd like to hear what you guys think. Did I make you have a different perspective on the fan favorite role in Death Note Killer Within? Or do you disagree with everything I said? Let me know. And if you made it this far, help me push to 2K. But yeah, that's me. I'm Rocketstar, and that's the end of the video. Bye bye.